Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Drive Pink Dialogue as we're 1 minute out from Inter Miami's victory against Philadelphia Union. That was a very interesting game. It was absolutely easy, simple. We were cruising through, and then Philadelphia scored one and thought, okay, we're going to now ramp up the pressure. And everything Inter Miami did just felt like a foul after foul after foul. Lots to talk about, lots of talking points, but it's great having Messi back. It's great to be on top of the Eastern Conference. This is our raw reaction. We're going to be talking about how we feel straight off the game. Don't expect any analysis. That's going to come out on a later episode. Get involved in the chat. Let me know how everyone's feeling. Lionel Messi, right? What can we say? Comes on, takes 2 minutes, and back on the scoring sheet. It was a great game. I think Inter Miami's game plan was really good. We were very efficient, barely had any issues to begin with, at least in the first half. It looked like Inter Miami was cruising through. We had one shot that we took and put in the back of the net. Really well created goal. High press, what high press? Inter Miami doesn't care about high press. Our midfield held up for large parts. I think towards the second half, it became a little bit iffy because I feel once Philadelphia had to start chasing the game, they became a little bit more physical. But that referee performance was quite poor. I was very disappointed. I think 7 out of our 8 players got booked. There were so many instances where we won the ball clean, we were straight on goal, and then the referee absolutely stopped the game in the middle of its tracks, and we lost that opportunity to score in them. I think the refereeing performance could have been definitely a bigger talking point if Inter Miami dropped points there. But overall, I thought very well played out. The fact that our second tier string essentially team was put out on the pitch. We didn't have our regular starters with Tadeo Allende out, Telasco Segovia on the bench, Yannick Bright on the bench as well, Messi not playing, and still we got the job done. We knew exactly how we wanted to play. We let them have a little bit of the ball. We didn't press unnecessarily high. We weren't playing with too much intensity. Kept the ball, kept the tempo, kept control in the middle of the pitch, and very smart play. Knew exactly when to push high up, exactly when to make those runs. Fafa Pico, Robert Taylor, I thought had a really, really good game. Both of them making those runs in behind. Fafa Pico, especially, I think this was definitely a game for him. He had some really good moments. Obviously, with that pre-assist in the setup for the second goal came through, but this was a game where he had so much space to run into. A couple of instances where I thought Suarez could have done well towards the end. Lionel Messi puts the ball straight into him as the goal is gaping open with Andre Blake outside from his line, and Suarez sort of fluffed it a little bit. Overall, a great game, I think. Our next 30 minutes are basically going to be talking about this game and the raw reaction. So I'm going to go through your chat to see what everyone's saying, get involved. And yeah, tell me how you're feeling about that game. Inter Miami is back on top on the Eastern Conference. We've now played some big hitters that everyone keeps talking about. We've played Atlanta, we beat them. We played Charlotte, we beat them. We played NYCFC, drew against them with 10 men. Now we played Philadelphia, who is being touted as these contenders who would be really high pressing, who would get the game to us. I thought they'd be a lot more threatening than they actually turned out to be. We were not being pressed at all. Or at least when we were being pressed, we just played out the back so easily. There were instances, obviously, where we had to defend for our lives, especially in that second half. Ian Frey with a couple of really good goal line clearances that helped us out. Maxi Falcone, Aviles, I thought had a really good game. By the way, I don't know who mentioned in the chat that they're going to bet $20 on Aviles getting a yellow card. He was probably the only player who didn't get booked, which is how you know that this was an unusual game. But anyways, fantastic game. Circus in the chat says, this is hilarious. A commentator before the game said, no yellow cards. I'm watching you, Toto. There you go. He came out of it without a yellow card. Very, very intense physical game for sure. I think the physicality of it was definitely on display. Not a pretty watch by any means. It wasn't tiki-taka. It wasn't fluid. I think of the 90 minutes that we played, we barely had 50 minutes of actual soccer on the ball. Very physical. I think both teams were up for it. Inter Miami set themselves up really well, and I thought we controlled the midfield, which helped us through. But the referee did everything that he could to take the game away from us, especially giving fouls for very small, minute tackles, and that was really frustrating. Yellow card towards the end as well for a couple of players, which wasn't deserving at all. Um, and the entire team got a yellow except for Toto. Even Mascherano got a yellow, as Circus points out. Looks like we have Drake Calendar back. Yeah. So one big talking point from that game, obviously, Oscar Ustari coming off injured. I thought it'd be a cramp, but it feels like it's a little bit more serious. This is going to make the conversation a lot more interesting. Of course, Ustari had a really good game, had a couple of really nice saves, point blank, but still had to make a good save. And then that injury, Calendar coming back on, I think now he's going to get a few games on the trot. We'll see how he does. Of course, Ustari has been phenomenal for us, but I back Drake Calendar. Everyone knows how I think about it, Drake Calendar. I think he's a fantastic servant for this club. So I'm not too concerned about him being back, but we'll see how it plays out. Hopefully, he gets a few good games under his belt as well. Bisrat in the chat, absolutely spot on. Very physical game. Um, but physical, Inter Miami getting 6 yellow cards, and I feel like Philadelphia only got one, which is not representative of how it went. Ash Preetham was confused about the refereeing just as much as I am. Taran in the chat saying, Suarez, my God. I thought Suarez played well. I thought he was really good, but there was a couple of instances where I wish he'd done something slightly more threatening in front of the goal. But he had some good plays into Messi. He had some good passes out of pressure. One thing I think that stood out for me was how well Inter Miami played out of pressure today. The passes were intricate. When we had to go in and press, our counter pressing, especially, was really on point. And I think that was a very well drilled instruction from Javier Mascherano. He utilized those two wingers with Robert Taylor and Fafa Pico super well. And this is something that I've started to see with Mascherano. He prepares really well for the games based on the style of football that we're going to see from the opposition. He knew there's going to be space in behind. And the second goal we basically created with the ball being given into Fafa Pico, who was running in behind, puts it off to Suarez, and then Suarez does the rest by passing it off to Messi, and then rest is history. But there were a couple of instances where we got in behind the Philadelphia backline, which I've really liked to see. And I think commending Mascherano for putting on two players who run in behind, especially since we didn't have Tadeo Allende today. Busquets simply cannot be pressed. Redondo, Toto, no yellows. Mark seems to be a happy man. Yeah, Busquets, my man of the match for sure. At least in the first watch, I thought he had a phenomenal outing in that midfield. He controlled everything. We talked in the pregame show about Philadelphia's midfield. We talked about Lukic. We talked about DJJ, and they were nowhere to be seen. Danley had a really frustrating game because they could just not get the ball out of Busquets. And not just not being pressed, he won the ball so many times. I would love to see his statistics for how many times he had interceptions and how many times he actually won the ball back, because I thought he was really good with his positioning and just so smart in controlling the tempo. Suarez still has lapses in the final third. I agree. You all know how much I actually criticize Suarez this season, but I thought he was okay this game. I thought he had a really good game. But yes, his decision making can sometimes leave a lot to be desired. Taran again mentioning that Philadelphia game plan just crossed the ball into the box. Listen, they had some good moments. I don't want to take away their game plan entirely. They did well in winning the ball high up a few times. When they did win it, it was dangerous. But our backline with Toto Aviles and Maxi Falcon just stood firm. Nothing could go through them. And then Ian Frey, I thought, had a really good game. There were a couple of instances where he just was so calm on the ball, taking it out of pressure. Just so good. I think the biggest takeaway for me from this game was how press resistant we were as a whole team. I think Fafa and Taylor run in behind exactly. Those run in behind were exactly what made the game for us, and that's how we got those goals. I didn't think we played too many opportunities in terms of creating them. We were very smart with how we wanted to proceed forward because we knew if we pressed too high up and we lost the ball, Philadelphia would be running in behind trying to get in. And we took our chances when we saw an opportunity, which was very smart, very professional, very efficient. That ref stopped four chances to score. Yeah, is it just me or that referee was especially poor this game? I was very disappointed with how the refereeing played out because there were so many instances where Inter Miami, I thought, won the ball completely clean. I'd have to go back and rewatch that game because he just stopped the ball completely and gave the foul against us. And I was just wondering why, because we won the ball clean and we were on really good opportunities in front of goal as well. So I thought that was a really poor refereeing performance. And if not for the referee, we would have had a fair few chances on goal that could have changed the scoreline quite a bit. Hopefully, Ustari injury isn't too serious. He wasn't walking too well, but I hope you're right. I hope it's just a little bit of a knock. I think it came off of the previous tackle that he had in the box where Philadelphia had a couple of shots on goal and got really close. So I hope he gets better soon. Suarez wasting Messi's chances. That's what you get with Suarez. He gets into some really good opportunities, but just final third can be a little bit lacking. But when it comes together, it comes together. He made that assist for Messi's goal, so no complaints from my side. MLS referees have beef with Inter Miami. It's obvious. I don't want to start this conversation, but anyone who says that Inter Miami is favored by referees needs to watch that game. I thought that was quite obvious about how Inter Miami was a little bit. We were suffering from what the referees were doing, and it wasn't fun to watch. Seems the referee was against us. I feel like I'm not the only one, so glad to see. Again, we'll rewatch the game and do a proper post-game analysis, guys. For those of you who are just joining us, this is a raw reaction. We're talking with our emotions and getting everything off our chest, whether it's Ostari getting injured, Messi coming back, scoring those goals. So get involved, hit the like button. I see 73 people online, so please you do us a big favor by hitting that like button. Damn, Toto, no red card. No card, actually. I'm sorry, Spider, you lost $50. You shouldn't have bet on that. That's a lesson not to bet on football or sports at all. But yeah, I thought Toto Aviles had a really professional performance. Him and Maxi Falcone in that back line. By the way, can we just take a moment to just comment how this offseason has played out in terms of the development of our backline? We've gone from having Sergei Christoph, Nico Freire, to now having, and Sergio Busquets in the backline, to now having Noah Allen, Toto Aviles, Maxi Falcone, Gonzalo Lujan. Who am I missing? David Martinez, who wasn't even available. That backline looks solid. And at this point, it doesn't matter who's playing back there. We continue to be just stellar. I think that one goal that came was a little bit of a lapse in judgment. They had a good cross in the ball. I like to see whose fault it really was. I'll have to rewatch that goal from Philadelphia. But overall, I think defensively we were very, very stout and didn't let too many opportunities come through. And when we were actually run through the middle, I thought we shut down the doors very, very well and very firmly. So well played all across, I think. What does Redondo do well? I thought he had a okay game. I do think he was the most poor player, at least in the first half, from everyone across. He doesn't necessarily stand out when he plays, and that's okay. But he did his job well, so I don't want to harp on too much about Redondo's performance. He had a couple of instances where he gave the ball in dangerous positions, but I thought he was defensively solid. At least he didn't allow us to be carved through the middle of the park, which is the bare minimum that you want him to do, right? So seems like some players looked gassed. Yeah, it was a physical game. It was a very physical game, but the good thing is we actually rotated this game around. So Velasco Segovia got a run out. Yannick Bright got a run out. Lionel Messi obviously showing he has absolutely no cobwebs, so he's just going to come on and score. It's good that those players got a little bit of a run out, especially after the international break, and also got a rest, so didn't have to play the full 90 minutes. But those who played, Fafa Pico, I thought was phenomenal in his physicality, continued to run throughout. Robert Taylor, obviously, I think he came off around the 50th, 60th minute, but he had a good shift. Kramaski had a good shift, but it was a physical game and we had to keep up with Philadelphia's physicality. But that's what I really like. We faced some different kinds of oppositions across the board. Atlanta with their frontline specialty that we've seen from them. By the way, their game today with NYCFC, I don't know what the final scoreline was, but I was looking at it and it was a so Atlanta won that game 4-3. They were really good today. Um, and we beat them. And then Charlotte with a little bit of a different style. And then today, Philadelphia, more physical, more high press. Inter Miami just continues to deal with these challenges. I talked about how the debate of Inter Miami not playing good teams and only just playing average teams is now put to bed if we win against Philadelphia. Lo and behold, we won. We do it again. The quality is just too good for this team, just too good. I see a few chats saying that the ref was quite poor and sometimes against us. Yes, it didn't feel like a very good refereeing performance as we've already talked about. Suarez should have been subbed off. He's one of those players that you can't necessarily sub off directly, especially when the game is hanging in the balance. 2-1 was a scoreline that was very close. And listen, Philadelphia could have pulled it back. I was a little bit worried towards the end that they're actually going to gain the momentum and get that one goal back. But in those instances, you can't take Suarez off the pitch because he'll just one moment and he'll score. So one thing I will say, Alan Abondo coming in, I'm very excited for that. I would love to have somebody who can just come in and be that physical target man presence while Suarez is still on the pitch, and having that two strike combination would be really fun. But yeah, Alan Abondo needs to come in soon. Bright got a yellow for playing good defense. I saw that. My biggest worry is a player for playing such a good game, making those nice interceptions, gets a yellow, and then has to miss out the next game. I don't think that's the case with Yannick Bright. I think he's still okay with that, but that was unnecessary. I don't think that was a yellow by any means. Happy with Taylor scoring? Yes. Sorry, we haven't even talked about this, by the way, but Robert Taylor back on the score sheet for Inter Miami. That's vindication for all Robert Taylor fans, including myself. Benjamin Kromaski creating that, but that was such a beautifully constructed goal. That was phenomenal. I believe Sergio Busquets won that ball. Jordi Alba with the ball straight into Luis Suarez, or Luis Suarez, who went out to Benjamin Kromaski. I thought Kromaski would take a shot, but such a brain on him to actually cut the ball back, with Robert Taylor just being in the middle to put the ball in the back of the net. Easy as is done. I thought that was crisp. That was beautifully constructed. And honestly, a perfect manifestation of how Inter Miami wanted to play this game. They wanted to catch Philadelphia off the break and honestly sometimes just play their game against them, which was really fun to see. So very well constructed goal. Really happy for Robert Taylor, who I thought had a really good game. Will do a world of good for his confidence getting that goal. Is it just me, or is it getting tiring watching the horrible refereeing game? I'm glad that I'm not the only one who saw this, and it was a quite poor refereeing performance. I think we're going to keep saying this throughout the rest of this episode. A dance off between Kremaski versus Redondo would be very awkward, as Ash points out. Not a pretty watch, are they? But they get the job done, and that's what matters. And listen, on any other MLS team, Kremaski and Redondo would be clear-cut starters, even their best performers, perhaps. So we should be glad that they are our depth pieces and not necessarily our starting pieces. And that's how much quality this Inter Miami team has. Union was scared in the first half. They played better in the second half, this shot points out. I agree. I think Union was a little bit scared that Inter Miami would catch them on the break. And that's exactly what we did with our first goal. When they had to come out and chase the game, that's when I think they looked the best. I thought their goal was a little bit into Miami's fault, but still they had a few good opportunities that they tried to create on us. And I thought they were decent, but they were hyped up a lot when I was doing my research for this game. And they were really touted as these contenders. And listen, they might actually be really good going forward. But today, a lot of their big players, Ty Baribo, I didn't see too much of him. Michael Uwe, I thought he had a couple of opportunities, but that was straight down the keeper's throat. Midfield was not to be seen much. I thought Damiani, when he came on, was a little bit sharp, changed the game. Indiana Vasilev, we're all familiar. I thought he may have brought a bit of energy, but overall, I think once they had to chase the game, they became a bit better. But Inter Miami dealt with it well overall. Suarez played well without the ball. You can't fault him for his energy and for his ability to just keep running and making those making himself an option. He comes back a little bit sometimes, plays the ball into the front line, and that creates opportunities for you. Some games that'll work really well, some games that'll be really frustrating. I thought him having two options in behind with Fafa Pico and Robert Taylor today worked really well in his favor because he was able to then be that pseudo 10 who would come back, receive the ball, hold up the ball, and then let the ball into Fafa Pico or Robert Taylor and spread it out. That I thought worked really well today. And he did that quite well for large parts of the game. Um, we could have scored more. Yeah, absolutely. Towards the end, we had a couple of opportunities. As I said earlier, I think we had an open goal opportunity that didn't go through. Taylor finally on the board. Huge relief for him, I'm sure. What a game. Cynical coming back from the stadium. Let us know how the game was in person because it felt like Inter Miami was in cruise control for large parts. And then second half, it became a little bit squeaky bum time with Philadelphia taking a bit more control. But overall, I thought Inter Miami did enough to get the victory and the win. Oscar Stari getting that injury is going to be a concern moving forward. But hey, it's good that we have Drake Callender back, right? That's going to be a really interesting conversation during our next pregame or postgame show. Suarez had chances. There were barely any chances generated before Messi came on. I agree, but this was also a very stop-start game. For large parts, it just felt like every time Inter Miami would have an opportunity to go forward, Philadelphia fouled them. When Philadelphia had an opportunity to go forward, Inter Miami fouled them. So I feel like on both ends, it didn't necessarily lead to final third chances. I do think Inter Miami had a good game plan that we take the risks of going forward when the opportunity is right. A lot of the times we tried to pop the ball up to Fafa Pico and Robert Taylor. When that didn't work out, the ball came back our way. But when we actually cut um, through their press, we looked phenomenal. We looked really good when we cut through their press. But I agree, the final third output, especially in that first half, was a little bit lacking, and yet we were ahead by one goal. And then Messi came on and changed the game completely. So Inter Miami needs to improve situational awareness. I feel like when we get under pressure, this has been a little bit of a change since last season as well. When we get under pressure, we deal with it well enough now. To the point that last season, it could have been that we crumbled under pressure, and maybe Philadelphia of last season could have probably got a goal and a draw against us. But I thought we handled ourselves well. Sometimes I think the game maturity is lacking, especially in terms of the fouls and the yellow cards. Again, we saw towards the end of the game, about 10 minutes, we had so many yellow cards back to back. It's not normal getting 7 yellow cards in one game. That's just either that's something wrong with the team itself in terms of discipline, and I didn't think it was a disciplinary issue today. I think it was just referee being very liberal with how he gave the yellow card. So I don't know if that's what you're referring to, situational awareness, but game management, I think we're definitely getting better at that. We had 2 games where we were 10 men down, and well, we were down to 10 men and we actually got the result. So I think we're getting better with it. Obviously, can improve overall. Philly got all the critical calls. Absolutely. I see everyone is going on about the referee. Props for not getting a red card for sure. Nuno says, terrible referee. Redondo was poor. Miami was too rushed to play direct football, which worked for the goals, but not much outside of that. Yeah, I think we were trying to find the pace a little bit too much sometimes. And that may have been a direct instruction of getting the ball high up and then hurting them so that we have the players in behind getting those opportunities. But I think the game plan worked overall. I'll have to rewatch the game to see exactly how much ball we gave away, but I think that was the game plan. As soon as we get the ball, try and move it quick into our wingers who can then create those opportunities. And listen, we scored 2 goals from that, so no harm done at the end of the day, right? Who do you guys think had the best game? Tell me. Do you think I personally thought the midfield was really strong with Redondo, Sergio Busquets, and Kramaski, especially in that first half. I thought we were doing just enough to contain everything Philadelphia had to throw our way. Sergio Busquets, especially, I thought was phenomenal. But Maxi Falcao and Toto Aviles together, I thought, took the cake with how defensively solid they were. Place went nuts when Messi scored. I'm sure you can't count him out for long, can you? The only thing that can stop him is injuries, apparently. Trey blocked some good shots. He had a really good game today. I thought Frey was really good, not just in defense, but also just his ability to find the pass out of pressure. I thought he had a really good game. Wish we saw Afonso and Morales. By the way, I think this is going to be the case going forward. As we get Balsadar Rodriguez in, as we get Alan Abondo in, I think Afonso and Morales' minutes are going to be limited. Obviously, there may be some injuries going forward, and we may need some reinforcements going forward, but I think they might suffer for game time at least over the next stretch of games. And maybe you get to see them in the US Open Cup. We'll see. Backline is well coached. This is a big difference from last season. Our structure and our spacing and the way we actually set up, so well drilled. You can immediately see the difference. And I think that's largely because Javier Mascherano was a defender himself, and he has emphasized our defensive structure, which basically helps us deal with pressure from opposition like Philadelphia. Yes, they threw the kitchen sink at us sometimes, but we closed down the spaces really well. Maxi Falcone knew exactly when to go close, exactly when to stay far. We had bodies in the box. So even when we get beat, even when Philadelphia is able to find spaces in behind, as soon as they try to put a ball into the box, as soon as they try to create a dangerous opportunity, we have so many bodies in the middle that somebody or the other is going to stop it. And that largely has to do with the defensive instructions, largely has to do with the defensive setup of the team. Redondo has some good moments, but also gave the ball away. So in the end, they cancel out. I think that's a really good way of describing Redondo. I thought he had a decent game, nothing to write home about. When Yannick Bright comes on, you immediately see how proactive he is with his defending. And I think Redondo is a little bit passive. He does the job. It's not like he doesn't do the job, but he's a little bit passive. Thought the team looked tired, slow, like against Cavalier. I don't think it was the same. I thought it was a physical game. And this is how I feel like Philadelphia wanted to play against us. We just matched up with them really well. And I feel like the commentary mentioned this during the game, that the longer this game goes on, the more Philadelphia is going to benefit, the longer as the game is closer, because they have the physical engine, especially in the middle of that park, to just run with athleticism. Inter Miami has been criticized in the past for not being able to keep up physically with some teams. And then today we saw we were able to do that. As someone mentioned previously, I thought we were a little bit gassed towards the end. And that's because we had to do the running off the ball, which was really helpful for us. Where is Scotty, bro? Scotty is out saving the world. He has taken the night off to do other things, and I'm deputizing in his behalf. So you guys are stuck with me for tonight. Hopefully he'll be back soon, and we can talk about this game with him soon enough. I'm sure he's going to be watching as well. Mash is still undefeated, though. Mascherano's undefeated. Inter Miami is undefeated this season. We're 9 games in. We haven't lost a single one. And we've faced every single adversity that a team can face thus far this season. Gone down to 10 men, drew a game. Gone down to 10 men, won a game. Played against some tough oppositions. Played back to back to back. Had a couple of injuries. Had an injury to their best player. And we just keep winning. I don't want to start this rhetoric that Scotty started last week, but how long before we actually start having the conversation that we will probably end the season as invincibles? We'll see. That would be a fun conversation to have, right? Calendar didn't do well. I don't disagree. I don't agree with that. Sorry. I thought he was fine. Coming in as a goalkeeper, not warmed up in the middle of the game is never easy. I thought he was okay, but he did exactly what he needed to do. Got the ball a few times, got it straight. So no complaints from my side. Bright's yellow wasn't deserved. Leo Messi told the referee, absolutely. I thought that was a clean tackle. Calendar is nervous, but he should be fine. Opestar is okay. I agree. This is without Segovia, Allende, Baltazar, Abondo, and Messi only playing one half. Are we the best team in the league? I think we are, right? I mean, obviously, we're undefeated, top of the Eastern Conference. This team is so good. For those of you who missed our episode on whether this team is better than last season, I urge you to go watch that. We did a full deep dive as to exactly why and how this team is better set up and why this team is probably better than last season. And if last season is any indicator of how things go, we might win a few things this year. Drake did fine. We're back to the top for Supporter Shield. Absolutely. Sorry, guys, there's way too many chats and I can't keep up with everybody. Alba started a setup for Taylor goal and had big defensive play when he blocked and cleared 2 attempts. I thought he had a decent game. A few iffy moments from Alba, but I thought overall he was fine. If not for timely stops by Frey, we would have lost this game. I thought he was immense. Definitely a big shout for man of the match from my side. I did think Sergio Busquets controlled that midfield really well, but overall, I thought he was fantastic. Alba had a good game, a lot of hustle. I agree. For large parts of the game, he looked really good. Had some really good moments going forward as well, and he had those opportunities in behind, which he took the most of. Taylor is one of the few players that can win a duel. I thought he did really well today. He had some really good running off the ball to do some defensive work, and then obviously getting that goal. Krema's so overrated. Again, I thought Kremaski was really, really good. All right, guys, I think that's about it. I'm going to call it there. We're going to be back with a more holistic, analytical, and well-nuanced episode for this game. We're going to do a post-game analysis of this either tomorrow or in the next couple of days. As soon as Scotty's back, we're going to get his thoughts on how he saw the game play out. Inter Miami's top of the Eastern Conference. We are undefeated this season. Next stop, LAFC. That's going to be a big game in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. I'm excited for that one because I feel like that's going to be an absolutely banging game. And if we win that game, it's all the way up, boy. And I can't wait for that. Let's go, Herons. Let's go into Miami. I will see you guys very, very soon. Until the next time, have a fantastic, fantastic day. See you in the next one.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Do us a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. Since our first viewer, sharing this with you all has been the very best part. So from the beginning until the end, thank you for being a part of this and have a wonderful day.